Hi guys, it's Fiverr. Happy Pride Month! I am so excited to show you this project. I have been working on it since November-ish of last year, and appropriately it comes out on the very last day of Pride Month in the year of our clown, 2022. I have been waiting to show you this for forever, so I'm not going to wait any longer. Let's dive right into it. Alright, so a lot of you might be new here, and even more of you are probably wondering, what did I just see, and also why clowns? These are good questions. Let me help you out. So the idea for this project is to find out what would happen if every model in an army was painted by someone completely different, and the only information that all of the painters got was that it had to be with the same theme. The theme of clowns. I chose this theme. I'm responsible for that. Why clowns? Because it's a good idea. The first time I ever saw the Gloomspite Gitz army, I thought, wow, it would be fun if I painted those as clowns. If you're new here, hello, my name is Fiverr. I use they, them pronouns, and I pick the weirdest possible paint schemes to paint Warhammer miniatures in. Usually it's food themed. Today it's clown themed. Tomorrow? Who knows? Anyway, I'm very proud of what we managed to accomplish, and I'm very grateful to all of the different hobbyists who helped me out along the way. On the surface, yeah, this army is a bunch of plastic goblins painted up to look like clowns, but at least to me personally, it's got a deeper meaning than that. I didn't necessarily feel super confident or included in the hobby when I first started out. I didn't really know how people would react to the way that I wanted to paint things. I don't usually stick to the box art, and I kind of wander off into my own personal branch of insanity every now and again. That, coupled with the fact that I am not what a typical Warhammer player looks like, I just kind of worried that there wouldn't be a place for me in this scene. This kind of video would have meant a lot to me back then when I was first starting out. I asked a bunch of people that I respected and admired or who had helped me in my hobby journey in some way if they wanted to participate. I fully expected most of them to be too busy or to not really be interested in painting up something to look like a clown, but to my surprise, they were all super welcoming and accommodating and enthusiastic and encouraging and a bunch of other adjectives. It was really heartwarming to see. Everybody just thought it was a good idea and was on board. There was no judgment, and we all just wanted to do something to show that no matter who you are or how you paint, everything can come together into one cohesive army. Or at least that was the thought experiment. We'll see what happens at the end of this video when I take all of those models that were painted completely separately from each other and apply the same basing technique to them, and we can find out if that makes for a cohesive army or if we have made a terrible, terrible mistake. So what basing scheme goes with clowns when you don't even know what color the clowns are going to be before they're painted? Some people might be paralyzed forever with indecision trying to figure out what basing scheme to choose. Luckily, I am not most people, and the basing scheme was as obvious to me as it was to paint Gloomspite Gitz. Clearly, the only basing choice available was to do a basing scheme inspired by Neopets' The Deserted Fairground. So I'm going to show you how to do all of the basing in case you wanted to paint a clown to join our army. The thing was, as I was splitting up and dividing up the clowns to multiple hobbyists, I realized that the infantry unit for Gloomspite Gitz is in fact 20 models, and it was impractical to find 20 different people who all had the same availability. So as much as I wanted it to be every single model was painted by a different hobbyist, at the very least every single unit was. There's a few double ups, but I don't think it's egregious or invalidates the experiment in any way. However, there's room for this army to grow. It's a horde. It's a clown horde army that will beat down and attack and bludgeon to death with cotton candy anybody who is mean to you. So if you'd like to paint a clown and add it to the horde, I encourage you to do so. Share it on Instagram. Lyla Mev came out with a great hashtag, which will flash on the screen because I forget how to spell it at this moment when I am recording the audio. Thank you, Lyla. So I'm going to show you how to do the basing. The first step is to apply basing paste to the bases. This will probably take like 24 hours to dry, so just slap it on there and then set it down and come back the next day. Alright, so your basing paste is dry. Step 2 is to dry brush. Now that's basically just taking a paintbrush, dipping it in some paint, wiping most of the paint off, and then gently dusting that back and forth across the miniature. I did a dry brush first of Army Painter's Elemental Bolt and waited for that to dry. This brought in the nice teal colors that you see in a lot of Neopets the Deserted Fairground areas. Maybe just kind of the Esophagus, which is again technically in the Haunted Woods. But I don't think anybody's going to come after me for my lack of accurate Neopets geography, except for myself who just called it out. Diversity win. Anyways, after the Elemental Bolt, the next step is to dry brush with Moot Green. Try to do this one just a little bit lighter so you still have that nice kind of teal layer underneath the Moot Green. After the paint for your dry brush has dried, the next step is to wash the entire base in Hexwraith Flame. This is a technical paint by Games Workshop and kind of works just like a wash, but it makes everything sort of green and glowy and ghostly, but in a way where you can still see the browns and teals underneath. I don't really understand how it works all of its magic, but it's a very good paint and one that was just the right thing for bringing these bases together. After that, we get to decorate the bases, which is always the most fun part. It's essentially putting stickers on the miniature. That's how I like to think of it in my head. And I was a person with like 6 sticker books back in the day, so anything that reminds me of stickers is a fun part of the process. The first thing that I added to some of the bases was teal flowers. Just sticking them down wherever, adding a few to some bases, It's nice to have that pop of color. As I was adding the flowers, I was thinking about what else I could put on these bases to make sure that people knew that these were circus bases. So if you have an art degree like me, the next step is to draw a circus poster and paint it with your Citadel paints. If you do not have an art degree like me, or you say, hey, that's way too much effort, I agree with you. I did not necessarily need to hand draw this, but my notebook was there and I wanted to. I was having a good time, I was having fun, I was being a little bit extra. The next step is to apply a coat of Mod Podge to your posters that you printed out. It works kind of like a varnish in just it provides a little bit of extra protection to the paper and hopefully will help it hold up on the base longer. I can replace these if they get damaged because it's paper, but the Mod Podge helps them stay on there for longer. Then you just super glue them down to the bases. I had a lot of fun figuring out different places to put these, areas of the models I could stick them to, crumpling them up and putting them on the bases like they were stomped on or ripped off of stuff. It was a good time. The last thing I wanted to make to add to these bases was some popcorn buckets. Now, the best way I know of making popcorn buckets is getting a straw and cutting it up into different segments to use as the bucket base. I specifically like to use straws from McDonald's. I don't know why, they just end up being the perfect size for popcorn buckets, but I'm sure literally any other straw would work. In fact, some straws are already made with red and white stripes on them and probably would have worked better. But If you have access to a McDonald's, you can get the same size straw that I use. Once you've got your green stuff mixed up, you just put it in the top of your little popcorn bucket, and I just sort of start poking it with a sculpting tool. You can see what I'm doing here, just kind of poking it and squishing it, making little indentations. As long as the texture is kind of irregular, it looks like it reads as popcorn once you paint it. You could prime this as well. I painted right on the surface. I did a quick coat of white on the straw, and it didn't stick perfectly to the plastic, but it did give it this nice, almost papery texture and remove kind of the shine of the plastic. I used Moon Dust by Army Painter to paint the popcorn, and then I threw a wash of Seraphim Sepia over that. Off screen, I also used red paint to paint stripes on the popcorn buckets. I couldn't film this because it was really detailed and hard to get a good angle of, and anytime I would try to film it, I would mess up. And then once they were ready, I attached them to the base. The last step is just to paint your base rims with Elemental Bolt, and then you're done. Just want to take a moment to point out that there will be some charities linked in the description. If you're looking for a way to support the LGBTQ+ community this month and don't know where to start, donating to a charity is a great way to do it. So here is the finished army and all of the models in all of their Neopets Circus basing glory. I mean, I think it looks cohesive, and I love this army. It means a lot to me. Every single person who chose to participate or even just listen to me when I was asking if they were interested. I really appreciate you and all of your time and effort. There's going to be a whole playlist of everybody's videos, so please go check them out. Please give all of the wonderful hobbyists who participated some love and attention and friendly comments. I am so pleased with this. I'm so grateful to everybody who chose to participate, and I love the army that we have created together. No matter who you are, no matter how you identify, no matter where you come from, you belong in this hobby, and we are so happy to have you. And if you feel like seeing more of this madness, please like and subscribe. Drop me a comment with what you'd call this army, because I really haven't been able to decide what to call them myself, and I'd love to hear your suggestions. You can support me over on Patreon if you feel like it, but honestly, happy Pride. Just have a great end of the month. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.